Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys at Magic. This is Hunter and Shane. Say what up, Shane.
What up, nerds?
We are back with another upgrade video. This time, we're taking a look at Exit from Exile.
Yeah.
And we have given Shane the task of upgrading this one. So Shane will be taking us through what he's done with $100, since this is our budget-friendly version. So first and foremost, Shane, let's talk about the face commander that you've chosen here.
Well, the Phase Commander is the Phase Commander. It's going to be the one that's on the front of the box. It is Faldorn Dreadwolf Herald. They cost 1 a red or green for a 3/3 human druid. And it says when you cast a spell from exile or a land that enters the battlefield under your control from exile, you create a 2/2 wolf, green wolf. And then it also has an ability that says pay 1, tapper, discard a card, exile a top card of your library. You may play it this turn. So from that, you can kind of sum up that we're going to be caring a lot about exiling our cards, playing them, maybe amassing a lot of wolves, and then turning them sideways.
I love that. Wolves.
Wolves.
Wolves. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. It's interesting because I don't think I've really seen the exile strategy come from Gruul.
I know I've never actually played the strategy, period, so this is a completely new realm for me.
Well, let's if you want to, let's go ahead and jump straight into your additions. So you've taken that $100. Let's see what you did.
I'll say right off the bat that like cards in this deck already kind of do a good job at what this commander wants to do, but there were some like areas that it kind of lacked in, so I figured that we could bump up some of the creatures that care about exiling your cards, some of the instant sorceries that care about exiling your card, just add more of that exact package to make it more specific to what the commander does. So I'll go through the first 3 creatures that I wanted to throw in here, and that is Urabask, Heretic Praetor, Professional Facebreaker, and Atsushi, the Blazing Sky. I think it's called Atsushi. I don't really know.
Yep.
But basically, all 3 of these creatures care about exiling your cards and then letting you play them. Urabrask is 3, a red and a red for a 4/4 Phyrexian Praetor. It's got haste, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, exile a top card of your library. You may play it this turn. And then it also says at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they withdraw a card this turn, instead they exile a card from their library, and they may play it this turn. So I mean, the second part is kind of whatever, but the first part, what's what you care about. So now you're turning on your commander every turn without having to pay 1 and tap them. So that's pretty good.
It seems like pretty good synergy from that.
Of course, man. I will say that this will go back in when I'm talking about the cuts, but there is another Urabrask in there, but it wasn't the one that cared about exiling, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, we're throwing in the Urabrask that cares. Another card that we're going to throw in there, like I said, was the Professional Facebreaker. It is 2 and a red for a 2/3 human warrior with menace, and it says whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Then it also has an ability that says sacrifice a treasure, exile a top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So again, now all your creatures are allowing you to make treasure, and then in turn, sacrificing treasure to exile and play more cards. Pretty synergistic.
Yeah, it's always unique when you see, especially with these newer cards. I like how Wizards took control and decided to not only make treasures broken, but made them even more broken.
Well, yeah, no, they won't tap for mana, but it's just a different way to spend your treasure.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
with this commander, I think it might be more powerful than making a land, or making a color. So yeah. And then the last one we talked about was Atsushi, the Blazing Sky. It's 2, a red and a red for a 4/4 Dragon Spirit. It has flying and trample, and it says when Atsushi dies, choose one. Exile top 2 cards of your library until end of turn. You may play those cards. And the second thing is create 3 treasure tokens. So I think for the most part, I'm picking the first one. But hey, if you have Professional Facebreaker, you might just create 3 treasure tokens, and now you can exile 3 instead of 2. So it's got some versatility to it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
And then I got some more creatures over here. We got Robber of the Rich, Magmatic Channeler, and Containment Construct. Robber of the Rich is 1 and a red for a 2/2, and I'm sure people have seen this from Standard. It was a menace, but it has reach and haste, and it says whenever Robber of the Rich attacks, if defending player has more cards in hand than you, exile a top card of their library. During any turn you attacked with a rogue, you may cast that card, and you may spend any mana to cast it. Just basically, so if it's a black, you can spend your red. But either way, you're exiling their cards, and then you get to play them from exile. So that's exactly what you want to do.
You're exiting from exile.
I'm screwing my opponent, and then I'm benefiting from it. That's amazing. And then, like I said, Magmatic Channeler, 1 and a red for a 1/3 human wizard. As long as there are 4 more instants and sorceries in your graveyard, Magmatic Channeler gets +3/+1. And then it has an ability that says tap, discard a card, exile a top 2 cards of your library, then choose one of them. You may play that card this turn. Again, just the ability to discard and exile. Super strong.
But it's super strong.
But then when this last card, Containment Construct, it's a 2-mana, 2/1 construct artifact creature. And this is where it gets kind of cool. It says whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card from your graveyard. If you do, you may play that card this turn. So now if you think about it, when your commander's out, you have to discard a card to turn her on. So now if this card's out as well, the card you discard is also a viable target for you to start playing. So let's say you have a land in your hand, you can discard the land and then activate your commander, play the land, and play the thing on your top of your library that you exiled, and that's 2 triggers just from this thing.
Yeah.
It's just extremely strong, extremely synergistic. Like you're just getting a ton of value.
You just no longer have to, quote, discard the card. You can just play it.
There's no more downside, man. It's crazy. So that was definitely an insert.
What else do we got?
We got 2 more creatures. There was a pseudo theme in this deck because if you're aware of what Cascade does, Cascade is exiling cards on top of your library, and then you can cast them. So there were a lot of Cascade cards, but there's the one Cascade card in particular that I thought was extremely strong that I just wanted to add. So I added Apex Devastator. It is 8 and a green for a 10/10 Hydra that just says Cascade, 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 Cascade. So when you get to that mana, you get a 10/10 body, and then you're getting 4 things for free. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Now, I'm not saying you're gonna get to this to do this all the time, but if you can, maybe in a third of your games, that's pretty sick.
It would. I mean, yeah, it's pretty nuts. You just gotta hope to hit in a row.
Yep.
Because it would suck if you just flip over a 2.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, that was fun.
At least you have a 10/10.
Yeah. Another creature is Goblin, a Narcomancer. It is a red and a green for a 2/2 Goblin Shaman, and it says each spell you cast that's red or green costs 1 less to cast. So hey, now your Apex Devastator costs 1 less. But it's just nice that all your spells are now going to be costing 1 less. So that's nice.
It lowered the cost. It's
Yeah.
always great.
And then you know what? I did lie. There's one more creature that I wanted to throw in here. It is a one of those split cards, though, right? It could be a creature or an artifact, and that's Bergi, God of Storytelling. And on the back, it is Harnfell, Horn of Bounty. So we'll talk about the first side, but Bergi, the front side, is 2 and a red for a 3/3 God. Whenever you cast a spell, add red. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. So that's kind of cool. And then it also says creatures you control can boast twice during each turn rather than once. So I mean, I don't think the front side you really care about now that I'm thinking about it. It's 100% the backside that we care about. The backside is a legendary artifact, and it says discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So another way to just start exiling stuff.
Yeah, it goes really well, that artifact in the deck.
Yep. And if you have the construct out, let's go.
Let's go.
I got a couple of instants and sorceries that I want to throw in there as well. So I'll start off with March of the Reckless Joy. I'm sure people are aware of this. It's in standard right now. But it is X and a red for an instant that says, as an additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile any number of red cards from your hand. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled that way. And then it says, exile top X cards of your library. You may play up to 2 of these cards until end of turn. So, just another way to exile stuff out of your library to play them.
Yeah, there's the blue march, the black march.
The
Those are
white
the two
march.
main ones in standard, or in the white one. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are the 3 main ones in standard right now. Red one sees absolutely no play, but I can see exactly how this fits into this deck.
Yeah. We're building around our commander, as Steven would say, and this fits in perfectly.
There you go. Listening
Yeah.
to Steven, are we?
Yeah. And let's see, I got a couple more instants and sorceries. So we got something called You Find Some Prisoners and Wheel of Fate. You Find Some Prisoners is 1 in a red for an instant that says, choose 1, break their chains, destroy a target artifact, or interrogate them. Exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. Choose 1 of them until your next turn. You may play that card, and you may spend mana as if it was any color to cast it. So you can either it's a pretty good utility, right? So you can either destroy an artifact, or you can exile some cards and then play them out of exile. Seems good.
Yeah, flexibility. What
Yeah,
you need at that moment.
exactly. And then the good old Wheel of Fate, that's in here because of suspend. The suspend 4, that means that it says rather than playing this card from your hand, you can pay a 1 in a red and exile it with 4 time counters on it. And at the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last one is removed, cast it without paying its mana cost. So you're exiling it and then playing it in 4 turns. Pretty cool. And then it says each player discards their hand and draws 7 new cards. So you're going to
Yeah,
get a wolf and a whole new hand.
that works.
People are going to hate that, and you're going to love that.
Luckily, you can see it coming. You
Yes.
could be
True.
just dump your hand really quickly.
Yep. And then this now is the last 2 creatures I want to add. These I separated because they're a little different. They're not so much caring about exiling, but since your secondary win con thingy is going wide with the wolves you make, I'm going to throw in some cards that, might pump them up and make them bigger. So we're going to add in Nightpack, Ambusher, and Immerwolf. Nightpack Ambusher is 2, a green and a green for a 4/4 wolf. It has flash, and it says other wolves and werewolves you control get +1/+1. It also says at the beginning of your end step, if you didn't cast a spell this turn, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So that's super cool. The second part you're probably not caring about because I'm hoping you're playing something each turn. But hey, maybe you're not. Maybe you set this up and now you just kind of pass go for a bit and create wolves, I guess. But either way, this can flash in and make all of your wolves a little bit bigger. And it's a 4/4 for 4. This is a good card. And then the Immerwolf is 1, a red and a green for a 2/2 wolf with Intimidate. And if you're not aware, it's Intimidate is this creature can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or creatures that share the color with it. So red and green can block it, and artifact creatures can block it. And it also says other wolves and werewolves you control get +1/+1. And non-human werewolves you control can't transform. So that part you really don't care about, but pumping up the wolves again.
Pumped up the wolves again. Love it.
Yep. So I just want to throw those 2 cards in there just to kind of show some love to the wolves you're making.
Yeah. And it looks like you got some enchantments coming in.
Uh-huh. And they're really, really strong enchantments for our Gruul color. We're going to throw in Rhythm of the Wild and Unnatural Growth. Rhythm of the Wild is 1, a green and a red for the enchantment that says creature spells you control can't be countered. And it also says non-token creatures you control have Riot. Riot's kind of an older thing, but if you remember, they enter the battlefield with your choice of a +1/+1 counter or haste. So all your stuff coming in can either be a little bit bigger or they can attack right away. Very good synergy, and nothing can be countered anymore. Really good.
That's
Sorry,
really good.
creatures can't be countered anymore. Other things can still
Yeah.
be countered. And then Unnatural Growth is a menace It's 1, a green, a green, a green, and a green. So that's 4 greens if you're counting at home. For the enchantment that says, at the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. And that each combat is super crucial because that means your stuff grows on everybody's turn.
Yeah, that makes your creatures look a little more intimidating if your opponent's trying to swing in at you.
Yeah. So another all-star.
I know when I play Standard, when they play this card against me, I've lost the game.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to throw in that.
And it looks like we got some artifacts as well.
You can't forget the artifact love, dude. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, we're throwing in some cool artifacts. We're throwing in Mox Tantalite and Soul Talisman. Both these artifacts are quote unquote free. It's got suspend 3, both of them do. So it's again, instead of casting this card from your hand, you're gonna pay either Mox is pay 0 and Soul Talisman is pay 1, and then you exile them, and in 3 turns you get to play it for free basically. Mox is you can just add 1 of any color, and Soul Talisman is add 2 of colorless. So Soul is basically Soul Ring, and Mox is just a 1 mana of any color. Just super, super strong. So you can make wolves, and now they'll help you with mana.
I remember when these were initially spoiled back in the day. People hated these cards because they weren't good. But in this deck, I say it again, suspend it really makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Like, yeah, they might be slow and not the greatest, but when your commander cares about that, then they're great, dude. I also wanted to throw in Lightning Greaves. I love Lightning Greaves. I wish it was in every precon, but it's sadly not in this one, so I threw it in. 2 mana for an equipment. Equipped creature has haste and shroud, and it has equipment cost of 0. So it's just throw it on your commander, throw it on anything like that you don't want to have be targeted by anything. Like just all around solid equipment. And then the last but not least of the artifacts is Coat of Arms. It is 5 mana for an artifact, and it's pretty spicy. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least 1 creature type with it. So if you have 3 wolves, they'll all have +2/+2 because it won't count the 1 itself. That thing as this should be an easier card to read, obviously, but let's just say your wolves get bigger.
Yeah, Coat of Arms is one of the best artifacts ever for any tribe.
Yeah, and we're not exactly a tribe deck, but when your commander's just pooping out wolves, this seems pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Throw some wolves in here.
Hell yeah.
Make it work. Make it go vroom.
Yep.
And it looks like you may have cut or added some lands.
Yes, I'm guilty of always doing this in the precons. They just have lands that are subpar, I guess, in my opinion. So we're throwing in some of the nice dual lands that we just need just for ease of mana curve. So we're gonna throw in Spire Garden, Stomping Grounds, the Craig Crown pathway, so the pathway, and Rootbound Crag. So the Spire Garden is the bond land, super strong. Every commander deck should have it, of your color, obviously. Stomping Ground is the shock, super solid. Pathway is the one that you can have come in on either side, so you can pick green or red, whatever you need for the situation. And then the Rootbound Crag is entering the battlefield unless you control, or sorry, it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a forest or mountain. So I would say maybe like 7 or 8 out of 10, it will come in untapped. But yeah, just having the ability to have more lands come in untapped for the color you need, super strong.
Absolutely. Is that all the additions?
That's all of them, man.
I liked all of them.
I did
But
too.
this is the bad part because you've added all these cards. We got to talk about what did you take out?
Yeah. I just took out a lot of stuff that didn't exactly fit the theme. I feel like that's always the wording that we say in this part of the video. Because, on the precons they can't be perfectly tuned and hum amazing. they got to throw in some other stuff. So this is the part where I take out some stuff and make room for the better stuff. That's a lot of stuff. I'm just gonna start reading them now. So I'll go maybe groups of 3 of these just to kind of get through them all. But the first group we're gonna get out of here is Managorger Hydra, Demon Bolt, and the other Urabraska talked about. Managorger Hydra is just a Hydra that has trample. Whenever a player casts a spell, you get a 1/1 on the Hydra. It's a solid card. You've probably seen it in a lot of EDH decks. It didn't do the exiling thing that we wanted, so I made the decision to cut it out. Demon Bolt, on the other hand, that one did kind of do the theme. It is an instant spell. Demon Bolt can do 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. The reason why it's in this deck is because it has the foretell cost, so you can exile it and then play it. So yeah, but it has the foretell cost. That's why it's in there. So you're paying 2 to exile it and then paying 1 to cast it out of exile. So I can see why it's in the deck. But 4 damage, unless you're killing a smaller creature in EDH, most relevant threats are probably over 4. I mean, I guess you can get it to planeswalker. I don't know. I just didn't think it made the cut for us, so I cut it out of there.
Yeah, spot damage is not really a thing in EDH.
You want it just to destroy or exile, yeah. And then the Urabrask, it doesn't really make sense why it's in the deck. Creatures you control have haste, and creatures your opponent control enter the battlefield tapped. I guess it slows your opponents down and kind of like stunts them, but when you have an Urabrask that does exactly what you want, well, why not just throw it in there? Like, I don't know why they didn't originally give you that card. It's not like it's extremely expensive. I don't know. They want you to
Because
buy
it's
in packs, I
new.
guess.
Go open
Exactly.
packs.
Exactly. Yeah. The next group that we're going to get rid of is Aurora Phoenix, Sweet Gum Recluse, and Embereth Shieldbreaker. So Aurora Phoenix is just a creature with flying and it has Cascade. And I can see why the one Cascade is good, but you're paying 6 for a flying that cascades once. I guess that's okay. It just didn't seem like it was a premium. So it just seemed like an easy cut. And then the Sweet Gum Recluse, it's got Flash, it's got Cascade once. It has Reach, and it says when it enters the battlefield, put 3+1/+1 counters on each of any number of target creatures that enter the battlefield this turn. That seems cool too. The Cascade once does seem cool too, but I just think that I did kind of pull away from the. I don't want to say pull away, but I kind of did get rid of a couple of the singular Cascades. We do have the one Hydra that can Cascade a shit ton. I kind of leaned more into the exiling it and then playing it theme rather than the Cascade, because Cascade's a lot more kind of like roll the dice theme, you know? Embereth Shieldbreaker is a cut because it sucks. It's an adventure card. It's got the pay 1 red destroy target artifact, and then you could pay 2 and get a 2/1. I don't know. The card just seems super meh. And then we got Hornet Queen. It is a 2/2 insect with flying and death touch. It costs a shit ton, and it says when it enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green insect creatures with flying and in death touch. I mean, it's not bad. It's just literally does nothing that we want to do.
That's a weird include.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I just easy cut. Enraze is the 7/7 boar with vigilance, trample, and haste, and when it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance and trample till end of turn. Now that could be a cool card because it'll pump all your wolves up, but it's a super heavy card, and I don't know.
That's it's a bit much.
Yeah. Xenagos, the Planeswalker boy, we're gonna cut. It just seemed weird. You got the +1, add X mana of any combination of red or green, where X is the number of creatures you control. So I guess you could get a good amount of mana from all your little 2/2s. And then it says you could 0 it, put a 2/2 token, whatever, with haste onto the battlefield. So you get, more 2/2s, I guess. And then its ult is -6, exile top 7 cards of your library. You may put any number of creatures and or lands from onto the battlefield. So the creatures won't trigger your dude. It won't trigger your ability. But the lands will, but I don't know, it just seemed like a weird inclusion in my opinion.
It's a super weird one.
Return of the Wild Speaker. It's an instant card that just says choose one. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 till end of turn. So it's a card draw because you. Well, actually, is it a card draw? Because you're probably not playing too many big creatures in this deck. You got a bunch of 2/2s. I guess it is cool because you can make all your wolves +3/+3 till end of turn, but I don't know.
Could have
It
drew
seems like
10.
yeah, I guess that's true. There's a 10/10 of this deck. I don't know.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like I needed it with the other instants and sorceries that I added.
Yeah. Especially when you want like Coat of Arms in the deck, which actually pumps not just until end of turn.
Yeah, exactly. The next batch of cuts we're gonna get out of there. Azuri's Perdition is a sorcery card we're getting rid of. For each creature your opponents control, you're gonna make a 4/4 green beast. Each of those beasts fight a different one. So it's a pseudo board wipe, but if your opponent has bigger creatures than a 4/4, it does nothing.
Yeah, because it's not. It says each of them fight a different one, so you can't even
Yeah,
like double up on something.
yeah. So I don't know. I guess if you're fighting against token deck, you just destroy them. But I don't know. Cut it.
I'm one that looks at it like if this is in my opening hand, 8 mana, it's useless to me.
Well, it's a hard mulligan. Yeah, you don't keep that. But hey, you don't have to keep it anymore because it's out of the deck completely. The other one is Primeval Bounty. It's an enchantment that says whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3 1/1 counters on target creature you control. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, gain 3 life. I don't know. This card just seems a little expensive, and it doesn't help me exile things. It does other stuff, but hey, we're gonna make room for our better cards. Let's do another group of 3 cards we're getting out of here. Journey of the Lost City, Grumgully the Generous, and Natural Reclamation. We're gonna get rid of all those cards. Journey of the Lost City is an enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top 4 cards of your library, then roll a d20. 1 through 9, you may put a land from among them onto the battlefield. 10 through 19, you create a 2/2 wolf creature token, and then put a 1/1 counter on it for each creature card among those cards. And then 20 is put all permanent cards with Journey to the Lost City onto the battlefield, then sacrifice it. Um, you're not casting any of those cards though, so it's not going to trigger your commander unless they're lands, unless it's a 1 through 9. So we cut it.
Makes sense.
The Grumgully guy, he's just a goblin shaman. Each other non-human creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, and it's a 3/3. That'd be cool. I seem to make room for my other better cards, dude. Let's be honest. And then Natural Reclamation is an instant card that says Cascade and destroy target artifact or enchantment. It can be chill removal with that randomness of Cascade. But like I said, I did get rid of a couple cards that just had the singular Cascade, and I focused it more on the exile and then play. So I got rid of it. And then the next group of 3 we're getting rid of is Lovestruck Beast, Sandswarm Convergence, and Chaos Wand. Lovestruck Beast is one of those adventure cards. So you can pay 1 green and then create the 1/1 human creature token. And then you can pay the real cost, which is 2 and a green. And then you get the Lovestruck Beast, which is a 5/5, but you can't attack unless you have a 1/1. So I mean it's cool because when you're casting it out of exile, you'll get a wolf, but when your singular 1/1 dies, your deck is only making 2/2s.
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't think it fits very well at all.
No, I mean, yeah. I guess that they were thinking, what can we cast out of exile?
What's cheap? What's cheap that we can reprint?
Yep. Sandswarm Convergence is another enchantment that just says creatures with flying can attack you or planeswalkers you control at the beginning of your end step. Create a 5/5 green worm creature token. So that's a pretty powerful effect, right? Creatures with flying can attack you, but it comes at an extremely heavy cost. This card is 8 mana,
Yeah.
so I just cut it. And then Chaos Wand is an artifact that says, pay 4, tap it, target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then put the exiled card that weren't cast this way on the bottom of the library in a random order. This was an interesting cut because at a glance, it does what you want to do, but it's extremely random, and it literally is in the name of the card. It's chaos, right? So I just decided to cut it for something else.
All right. And wrapping it up, you added some lands. How are we fitting them in?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I kind of feel like these are our very standard. Like whenever you watch our videos, we cut these similar lands every turn. But so I added 4 lands. So I'm gonna right away cut 4 lands. I'm cutting Ash Barrens, Myriad Landscape, Blighted Woodland, and then 1 Forest. All those cards are just kind of meh in my opinion. We added way better lands. And then just I wanted the lands that come in this deck is you get 39 lands. That seems really heavy. I'm always cutting mine down just a smidge. So after those 4, I'm just gonna cut another mountain and a forest to bring it down to a 37 count. That's kind of where I think the sweet spot is, 37, 36. So we're leaving at 37.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That makes sense
And
to
that's
me.
the deck, boy.
Really the top end of the curve. I know you're adding a 10-mana 10-10, but this originally without lands is like a average of over 4 mana per spell, which is really high.
Yeah, man. I like playing I like playing loose and low, baby.
Loose and low. Bring them on down. But yeah, that's the deck, dude. Let's the main question that we always ask at the very end. Give you $100. What was your total price point when it came down to the end?
Well, kicking and screaming, I got the price point to just under 100. So we're at $93.64.
Wow, well done.
Yeah.
You got anything else to say to the people before we go? I know you guys can go and look at Shane's full list down in the description.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think even if you don't do the upgrades right away, this deck I believe is really strong out of the deck or out of the box. So maybe you play a game or two, and then you come to this and say, "Hey, I had fun. I want to make it even better." This is the perfect list.
Yeah, right on, dude. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like button if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We will be back. Shane will be starting to work on his $300 upgrade very soon. Right, Shane?
Yes.
Yes. Again, check that description. Check his link on Moxfield of all of his upgrades if you want to build this deck. He did a really good job on it. And don't forget to follow us on our Instagram and Twitter. That is @GuysMagic. Stay up to date with everything we're doing. And until next time, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Bye.